All right, we are live.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the last regular season episode of NFL regular season, at least episode of Unnecessary Wagers, the last episode of 2025. It is been it was a less eventful week than normal because there wasn't really much college to speak of other than a couple of bowl games. It was a eventful week in the NFL. Um, it set up an eventful week in week 18. Now we had a lot of movement, a lot of clinching. There was certainly a lot of interesting results. I wanted to start the show
Well,
by
first, can I just plug everybody's social media?
yeah.
All right, so you can follow us on Twitter at Nick DiMartino and at Liam MTGP. You can follow the Empty the Bench Network across social media at ETB Network. You can follow the Moving the Goalpost podcast at MTGP ETB across social media. You can watch all Empty the Bench shows on youtube.com/ETB Network. You can listen to all Empty the Bench shows wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure to like and subscribe. And right now, the show is presented by nobody. So,
Okay. Shout out to nobody. I wanted to get you to open the show with just your initial thoughts on the statistically worst month a team has ever had, or worst December a team has ever had in NFL history, point differential wise, which was the New York Jets. And I wanted to get you to just give your initial thoughts on the whole month, but especially what happened yesterday.
well, I mean, I'm not surprised that we ended up getting blown out by New England. I mean, none of that is really surprising. I'm not even really all that surprised that the Jets season is this bad. And I honestly don't even care anymore because I'm so tuned out. I think the worst part of it is that we're not going to get the number one pick in the draft while being this bad, because right now there is no question that the Jets are the worst team in football, without question. Like, if the Raiders played at MetLife Stadium, the Raiders would be like 3-point favorites at MetLife Stadium.
I don't know.
Fine,
The
one
Raiders
and a
might
half
win.
point
The Raiders
favorites.
might win, but I don't know if they would have been favored. But it's it's unfathomable to me that a sport that is created, the way it is set up is to create parity, which it does a very good job with. Every sport is going to have teams like Kansas City or teams like the Steelers and of the 70s, Cowboys of the 90s, Dolphins, whatever. But the sport being set up to create parity, the way that they do it with a cap, it's unfathomable to me that realistically 25 years, but obviously we have the 15 where they haven't made the playoffs, but that in the last 25 years that we're still in this spot between the Jets and the Patriots, where the Patriots have had a dynasty, lost the dynasty, been the worst team in the NFL, come back now and been the one seed, and they're up 42-3 at MetLife Stadium.
They were up 35-3 at halftime. You know what's something crazy? I was actually invited to go to that game. And I'm like, I am not skipping sleep to watch the Jets get blown out by 30 points. Are you kidding me?
But the Giants have been the worst team in the NFL for the last decade. They've been horrible, a joke. They've made the divisional round in that time.
Yeah.
The fact that the Jets and the Giants have won a Super Bowl since the last time the Jets have made the playoffs. It's unfathomable to me that they're still in this situation. It's unthinkable.
Well, obviously the common denominator is the ownership.
Right.
Like the reason teams are dumpster fires is not because that the Jets are cursed or anything like that. That's not the reason. The reason is because the ownership is incompetent. They keep making stupid decisions. That's the only reason franchises, some teams are historically so bad. There is a common denominator, and that's ultimately the issue. I mean, the only thing I can hope for with the Jets is that Woody Johnson pulls a Dolan, where he steps back and realizes he's kind of the problem. At least Dolan had the decency to do that. Woody doesn't even really seem to do that. He ends up hiring these same incompetent buffoons every single year. I mean, the Aaron Glenn, like a lot of people are talking about firing Aaron Glenn, and I just don't agree because I think you got to give him more than 1 year. I mean, I don't know how many teams could have actually done well, how many coaches could have done a good job with this roster, with this quarterback situation. But I will say, the way the team being as bad as it is has a lot to do with coaching. Like, I do think it's impossible to argue that the Jets being this bad has nothing to do with the head coach. It's got to have to do with that. It obviously has something to do with the head coach. I never even liked the hire. I didn't even like the hire to begin with, because why are we doing the same exact thing we did before? Okay, so we hire another defensive coordinator with no head coaching experience.
Right.
Why would anybody think that's a good idea? That's been the problem all this time. Yep. Like the Jets, they just can't get anything right. And the weird thing is that, like, they have some good players, like some really good position players. I mean, look, so there's no reason, like, they shouldn't be as bad as they are.
Yeah.
They really shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And everybody talking about, like, Justin Fields, that was a good move. It was better to move on from Aaron Rodgers. It's like, I'm not saying the Jets would have been great or a playoff team, but I think they would have they wouldn't have been this much of an embarrassment with Aaron Rodgers for another year.
No. And so that was stunning. Sauce Gardner, by the way, is the only player in NFL history to play on two different teams in the same season and see 2 wins. He was 1-7 when he was traded to the Colts. The Colts have since been 1-7. Now, obviously, they've had been bit by the injury bug pretty badly, but they are out. They were eliminated by the Texans winning on Saturday. They did also lose on Sunday. So almost all is set, or in terms of who's in, except for Carolina and Tampa, which is, again, just a disgrace that one of the teams from the NFC West, well, 2 of them will have to play on the road. One of them will have to play on the road to either Carolina or Tampa Bay, who will likely have 8 or 9 wins. Is just shocking. It's horrible that the NFL still sort of abides by that system.
Yeah, I think it should just be an order of record with the seeding.
Yeah, exactly. I think you should get in if you win your division, but you shouldn't get a home game.
No, I totally agree. And a lot of people say, well, it makes division rivalries more. It makes the division rivals mean more. The division mean more. But I mean, football's not much of a division rivalry sport. It's not like baseball. Like, football's not as much of a division rival sport as baseball is. It's much more of, college football. It's much more. It's more like basketball, where the rivals are between the top teams. Like, that's what makes football great.
What happens if you win your division in baseball? You get a home playoffs no matter what?
Yeah, it works that way in baseball too.
Okay.
But baseball, I think it makes
baseball's a longer term though thing. But like you normally, baseball, I feel like the best teams probably make it because it's so many games over the year. Make it. But it just happens that there happens to be sometimes really down divisions and really up divisions. I mean, the Seahawks, Niners, or Rams would win either of the other 3 divisions
easily
in the NFC. Easily. So anyway, the Seahawks and the Niners will also play for the division and the 1 seed. That was a great game last night. I had I had the Niners minus 3.5, so that was a anxiety-inducing.
I had the Bears plus 3. That was rough. That was a little rough. I mean, look, the Bears receivers didn't do Caleb Williams any favors in that last drive. There were a few really, really key drops. But I did see the replay of, like, on social media, of how wide open DJ Moore was in the end zone on that last play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But the Niners, I mean, look, the Niners have been in really good form lately. Like, I thought the Bears would come back and win because they seem to always figure out a way to win games, or the teams they play, maybe more accurately, figure out a way to lose.
Right. Right. And speaking of just completely missed throws, you had a great game between the Eagles and the Bills.
Yeah.
The golden child can do no wrong. Mr. Haley Steinfeld with just a horrible throw, by the way, had a guy wide open in the end zone.
Although I would have kicked the extra point there, but the reason they didn't do it, I think, is because they were worried about him getting hurt.
Probably the guy just missed one too.
No.
Blocked,
Yeah,
but still.
that too. But I think the reason they did it was because they wanted to win the game right then and there, and they didn't want to go to overtime because they were worried about Josh Allen.
I mean, it was. He also had an unbelievable. I don't know if you. I only saw bits and pieces of the game, but I don't know if you saw this one. He had an unbelievable play where he just ran backwards 18 yards. That got sacked and took him out of field goal range at one point in the third quarter. Literally just ran 18 yards backwards. He's literally like the mash all the buttons guy on Madden. He just plays like that. But that gave the New England Patriots the division. We'll get to them in a little bit because I've got a lot to say about them. And so we are basically set, except for the Steelers and Ravens, which the Ravens had a good win on Saturday. Derrick Henry had a terrific game. They needed to win. They did. And the Steelers, I mean, choke job. Lost to the Browns. They were more worried they were clearly more worried about Myles Garrett getting a sack record than they were about getting themselves in the playoffs. And just choked it away. Now, they clearly missed Metcalf, especially on that very last play. But to lose to that Cleveland Browns team, this is a team, by the way, that lost to the Jets, who we just pontificated about how they were so bad. The Browns got beat by them pretty handily too. And to not be able to go in and win that game when your season's on the line and when they only put up 13 points and you still can't win the game, that is horrible. We'll get to that game too because I'm going to be.
Yeah, the Steelers do this every year. They just stop functioning in December.
Yeah, so we'll get to that too because I've got that game on the card, and you might as well. But so we're pretty much set. We had no college really to speak of. Obviously, the
Pop-Tart
Bowl, which was hysterical. Still one of maybe the funniest bowl game. I do like that the Sun Bowl, they do a Gatorade shower of Frosted Flakes, I think is also very funny. Bowl season is hard. It's horrible now, but it is very funny. The very niche things, the Snoop Dogg catching the kickoff was very funny. Just the niche things of bowl season.
I love bowl season. And I used to just sit down and watch bowl games all day. I mean, the thing with bowl season, unfortunately now, is that sometimes teams just are not at full strength and all the best players are opting out. But in the Pop-Tart Bowl, actually, there were no opt-outs or very few opt-outs in that whole game. You were basically seeing both teams at full strength, which is what I like to see in these bowl games. That I think Georgia Tech, they were up 20. They were up I think they were up 21-3 at one point, if I'm not mistaken. And then BYU came all the way back. I didn't put any real money on that game. I don't know if you did.
I have to be honest. If there was a gun to my head and they said who played in the 2025 Pop-Tart Bowl, I would be dead. So I did not even.
BYU Georgia Tech. That's not a bad.
The playoff has ruined the bowls for me. I can't get into the bowls, but
playoff or the 4-team playoff.
What
you mean just the playoff period?
This playoff, yeah, this playoff.
This playoff.
Well, no, just in general. I'm not watching and the other thing is now they have NFL every day. I'm not involved in the bowls anymore. But
I'd rather watch some of these bowl games than NFL games, than some of these NFL games. Depending on the game, some of these bowl games are better than the NFL games. I'd rather watch I think I'd rather watch the ReliaQuest Bowl than most NFL games.
Yeah. It's
I mean, I know I'm in the minority, but that's just me.
It's definitely possible. I mean, yeah, you are. No, you're in a deep minority. But I have not gotten into the bowl games at all. And I wanted to mention before we go into the picks, by the way, since we're probably one of the shows that does most of the college coverage here, with exception of a couple. I wanted to also talk about real quick college basketball. What happened in college basketball this week? I think you might have seen this with Baylor.
No, I didn't see it.
So Baylor made a mid-season. First of all, this is my biggest problem with it. They made a mid-season signing, which I don't think I've ever seen before in my life. First of all, they call it signing.
Now. Oh, I see what you're saying. The guy entered the draft, right?
So yeah, so he was a first-round draft pick in the NBA. James Nnaji. He was a first-round draft pick. He didn't sign a NBA contract. That is why he came back. Now, I don't have as big a problem with someone who's doesn't end up signing an NBA contract if they have eligibility coming back. The biggest problem to me was it was in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
we're like 12 games into the college basketball season, and you're making a signing, especially a major signing. The college sports is just starting to become a serious Wild West.
Yeah, well, it's obviously, and the biggest issue is not like people are going to blame like NIL and the transfer portal and all that stuff. It's not that. The issue is that you're right. It's the Wild West. There's no rules to it. Like there has to be some type of rules.
Right.
To
There's no governing body. Right.
Right. There has to be some type of rule for when you can sign players. Like I guess ultimately that's been the biggest problem in college sports is that there's no governing body at all. Like it's always kind of been like the Wild West, honestly. Even before NIL and the transfer portal. I mean, every conference makes their own rules. Every team controls their own schedule. Like there's always been some of that. But now we can't have like coaches leaving right before a playoff run. We can't have teams signing players that entered the draft like in the middle of the season. That's just completely
it's crazy. And again, like I don't people are like saying, well, oh, it's bad because he entered the draft. Like I'm fine with that. Not only did he enter the draft, he was a first round draft pick, but I'm fine with that aspect. But you have to sign him to sign him in January when you're now adding to your team a guy that was drafted in the first round of the NBA in January. Like that's just where it's like. So what if guy? I mean, are we going to now say that you could transfer in at this point? Like I don't know what like where does it end? Where does it stop? And where who could come in? I mean, it's just crazy to me. But like you said, it's there's no governing body, and I just found that it's crazy what's going on in a lot of college sports, and the fact that it's now like signings. I saw someone the other day that was like a USC player, I think it might have been like re-signed with USC.
I think it was Mekhi Lemon.
What are you talking about? Re-signed? Like he's not transferring. Like it's insanity. That was like jarring, and it really kind of went viral because Tom Izzo had a rant on it, which he was right about. But it's just
what did Tom Izzo say?
Just basically what we said.
Yeah, that
there's no governing body on it, and it is crazy. And like you said, and by the way, Lane Kiffin wasn't the only guy. When you're talking about, you just got a lot of coverage because it was Lane Kiffin. He wasn't even the only coach in the college football playoff who was, now the other guys coached the team, but who was leaving.
Yeah.
JMU's coach is leaving.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't really want to get too much into this, but Michigan got lucky that their coach committed a scandal because they ended up with a better coach who they now signed in the middle of the season, and now Utah is semi-fucked.
Well, Utah, that was in the middle of the season. That was after the season, but it was right before
the middle of the season. I said after this. I said they're fucked now, but I didn't say that. But I'm saying Michigan got lucky, almost did better after the scandal than they were beforehand.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, no, that's absolutely true. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a little bit of a different. That's a little bit of a different thing, kind of, because coaches were always able to just kind of get up and leave whenever they wanted. But like, yeah, that's you're right about that.
But where you have I have a problem. I don't know if you. I think I agree with NIL, and I think that every player should make every dollar that they are allowed that they are able to off of their name, image, and likeness. Where I have a problem is when the schools can just start giving out NIL to players. That's an issue because, like, Kenny Dillingham was having a press conference at ASU where he was saying, can we get a donor to sign over $20 million? When you've got to get donors signing millions to the school just so they can compete, that's a bigger problem. It should be, you should be able to sell jerseys. You should be able to agree to sponsorships with whoever you want. Once Alabama can pay a guy $50 million, or Michigan, or you see what's happening at Texas Tech, the reason Texas Tech is so good, and we'll get into them when we talk about the playoff, is because they bought the entire roster for millions. And you're talking about now, like, why am I forgetting his name? What's the kid who copies Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, Dylan Raiola.
Yeah, he's going to get like $10 million or something. It would be hysterical if he went to Texas Tech, but he's going to get like $10 million. Anyway, let's get into the picks. We're going to start with the playoff. My one unit pick, I am taking first half bet. Georgia -3.5 first half versus Ole Miss. I think Georgia's going to probably win this game quite easily. Ole Miss had the fortune of playing Tulane in the first game, which might have masked some problems that they might be going through with the coaching change and all of the situation going around there. I think Georgia's going to win this game semi-handily, but I don't know about backdoors and stuff like that. So I think they're going to come out and lead. So I'm going to take their first half -3.5.
Georgia first half -3.5. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
-3.5.
Yeah. Okay. So you like those first half bets a lot.
Yeah, I do.
All right. So my one unit play, I'm taking Ole Miss +6.5 versus Georgia. I understand that Lane Kiffin is not there, and that does affect Ole Miss a lot. However, the first time that they played at Georgia, and it was Trinidad Chambliss's first road SEC game. And I think that needs to be taken into account also. So Trinidad Chambliss has a little more reps under his belt, and I think, and this time it's at a neutral site rather than at Georgia. I think this is the type of – I think Georgia will win this game outright because Georgia's the better team. They have the better coach. But I think this type of matchup is the type of matchup that I think Georgia might struggle with. And Georgia is not the same team that they were 3-4 years ago. So I think Ole Miss is actually going to give them a little bit of a run for their money. I have a little bit of faith in Ole Miss. I think they're in good form right now. They're not like A&M. Yeah, I think rode the wave of a very easy schedule. I think Ole Miss will cover this number. I could see a backdoor cover, but what I think is going to happen, I could see Ole Miss turning this game into a shootout, and those are the games that Georgia tends to struggle with. I mean, you talk about the coach. A lot of people talking about the coach, but I like Trinidad Chambliss more than Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah, you might have a foot in Baton Rouge, though, but yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But also, you said that you like Ole Miss's form, unlike Texas A&M, who rode an easy schedule. I mean, Ole Miss's last games in the last 2 months have been South Carolina, the Citadel, Florida, Mississippi State, and Tulane. I mean, that's not exactly.
No, you're right. It's not that Ole Miss played a tough schedule. I think that A&M has not played well at all in those games at the end of their schedule. Like, A&M had to come back from 30 points against South Carolina. They lost to Texas. I mean, Texas A&M has not looked like a good team in a while, is the point I was making.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to 2 units. My 2-unit play is Texas Tech, Oregon, first quarter, over 10.5. I think this is going to be a shootout throughout, and I think you're going to see both teams score in the first quarter. That's all you need. Unless one of them is a field goal. And I think this is going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be the best game of the weekend by far. I think this is going to be a terrific one. Another great job, by the way, putting probably the best matchup at noon, which they did in the first round of the college football playoff. Just a joke that this game's at noon on New Year's, but whatever. I still think this one's going to be high, strong offenses coming out, scoring. And the first quarter, I think you're going to see that right away. I think both teams go down the field and score right away. So I got like the first quarter over 10.5.
I like that pick. I like that pick a lot. I didn't consider it because I've never done a first quarter bet before, but I do like that pick. My only concern about that pick is Oregon likes to run the ball a lot. And if both teams control possession, tend to control possession very well, I don't know if they're going to be looking to, throw the ball down the field. But if each team scores a touchdown, that easily covers. You said it's 10.5?
Yeah, the over 10.5.
Okay. All right. So my 2-unit play also happens to be the same game. I am taking, except it's a much more simple pick. I'm taking Oregon minus 2.5 against Texas Tech. I like both teams. I really like Texas Tech as a team. I really, really do. One of the reasons I'm taking Oregon in this game is that they've been much more battle tested this season. That doesn't mean, they're going to win. Doesn't mean they're a better team, but they are more battle tested. There's no doubt about that. They've played in much closer games, much tougher games than Texas Tech has played in. Texas Tech hardly even played without a lead the entire season. I mean, they blew everybody out. And and the other thing is that Texas Tech statistically has a really, really good run defense in the sense that they don't allow a lot of rushing yards. Although part of the reason for that is because everybody they're playing is always playing from behind.
Right.
Oregon has a really good really good rushing offense. Really good. A better rushing offense than any of the rushing offenses that Texas Tech has played all year. And I think it might be a little bit of a shock to Texas Tech in this game. So if Oregon is playing from ahead, if Oregon takes an early lead, it's going to be interesting to me to see how Texas Tech responds. Like as good of a team as Texas Tech is, maybe they're a little bit of a product of the Big 12, and not just that the conference is weaker, but also maybe their system just matches up well against other Big 12 teams, which it might not against a team like Oregon.
Right.
The other reason is this is the same team that also, they got put through the ringer last year, and I think they're going to, after something like that, I could see them being very much motivated to make a big run. I just think overall, they're the better, more experienced team, is how I would put it.
Yeah, I think the game against Arizona State was the only time that they've really played from behind this year. Their quarterback wasn't even playing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
There's another reason that I like Oregon in this game. Francesa is really, really big on Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So,
all right, my 3-unit pick. I am going. Sorry, I read the wrong pick there. Indiana team total under 27.5. Indiana, despite having the Heisman Trophy winner. Now, I will say I think that Mendoza is very worthy of the Heisman this year. It's not every year that you're going to have a Johnny Football type out there just having insane numbers. I think he is deserving, but I do think that if Ohio State had won, Sayan would have won the Heisman, and if Indiana won, Mendoza would have won it, which they did. But the point I'm making is Ohio State and Iowa were the two best defenses that Indiana saw all season long. Indiana put up 20 against Iowa. They put up 13 against Ohio State. Both of those are well under 27.5. Alabama doesn't have quite as good a defense as Ohio State, but I do think that they have a better defense than any of the other 10 teams outside of those 2 games that Indiana has seen. And I think that they will give problems to Indiana, who have not, despite having the Heisman Trophy winner, have not always been a team that wins on the big offense. They have also played. Mostly soft schedule outside of Oregon and the last game of the season. And so I think that this will go under 27.5.
Yeah, I kind of like that pick. I think you put a lot more, like your picks are a lot more innovative than mine. Like mine were much more simple. You were like, all right, first quarter, first half, team total. Like I'm just like, all right, let me look at this game.
You got to find winners wherever they are. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. You got to find You got to find winners.
I think it's a show of true degeneracy when the more innovative your picks are, the more.
That's very, very true. The more innovative your picks are. Because one time I was sending, because during the season I would send my dad like all my college football picks, and I sent him Baylor TT over.
Yes,
he thought I meant Baylor Texas Tech.
Texas Tech,
Baylor and Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech. Yeah, Texas Tech definitely covered that game. Texas Tech is amazing against the spread.
Yeah.
And so, all right, my 3-unit play. I am taking Texas minus 7.5 against Michigan. The thing with Michigan is not only do they not have a coach, which sometimes is not always the worst thing in the world, but like with Ole Miss, sometimes players really come together when they don't have a coach. But not only do they not have a coach, but they also have a lot more opt-outs in this game. They have, I think, 3 notable opt-outs in this game. Texas only has 1, really. So they have a lot more opt-outs. The other is that every single time Michigan has been tested against a top-tier team, they've lost by a pretty big margin. Like every single time, whether it's against USC or against Ohio State. And they also had a lot of really close calls against some pretty lousy teams in their conference, especially on the road. I think Texas really came into form late in the season. Like with that win against A&M, I don't think there's any way Texas would have beaten A&M even in their own stadium if they played in September or October. I think Texas improved a lot throughout the season. I really like Michigan here to cover the 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I agree with the premise that they wouldn't have beat. I mean, I just think Texas A&M played one of the oddest schedules ever. They played the exact bottom 8 teams.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that Texas really did round into form. I just don't think – as you know, I just don't think that anything that happens in the regular season has any effect of picking the bowl games because they're just such a anomaly compared to what goes on in the regular season.
Yeah, no, I agree. But at the same time, it still is. But that's the only thing you have to base it off of is the regular season. Right. I mean, if there's a game with a ton of opt-outs and things like that, I'm not even going to pick it. But this game is close enough, I think.
Right, but how many guys are really invested in it? You know what I mean? But
yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. What bowl is that?
It is the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the 4-unit play. This one's much simpler for you. I am going Alabama plus 7 for all the reasons that I just talked about with Indiana. Frankly, never been high on Indiana. I was stunned that they won the Big Ten championship game. Still not that high on them. A little higher on Alabama. I do think Indiana will likely win this game, but I think that Alabama is going to keep this interesting here. I just don't see, I just don't see Alabama getting blown out here. It's tough for me to see in the Rose Bowl. I don't see Alabama getting blown out.
It's really interesting because I actually have the same exact pick, Alabama plus 7. The thing now, I agree very much, although I disagree a little bit. It's not that I'm not higher on Indiana. Indiana is a really, really good team. I think the interesting X factor here is Alabama because Alabama is one of the stranger teams we've ever seen. It's also this type of Alabama team is the type of Alabama team we're not used to seeing. They don't run the ball effectively. We're used to most Alabama teams were really, really good on defense, especially their front. They're not, they're a good defensive team, but they're more of an offensive team. But they don't run the ball effectively. Their main strength is their passing game. And the other weird thing about Alabama is that you get it's like they have multiple personality disorder, if that for a team. Because you see multiple different Alabama teams. Sometimes, we've seen it throughout the season, sometimes you see multiple different Alabama teams in the same game, like against Oklahoma. When they were getting blown out, when they were losing 17-0, it looked like Oklahoma could have won by 30 points at that point. So we see multiple different Alabama teams, which makes this matchup interesting. One of the things that about Alabama that I really like is, number one, I think they have a lot of momentum. And number two, they're playing with house money. They're not playing with a lot of pressure.
I have to say, I don't think Alabama ever is playing with house money.
You don't think they're playing with house money?
I don't think Alabama ever can play with house money.
In this game, I would say
Alabama's always Alabama.
Yeah, they're not favorites in this game, though. If there's ever a time where they
even as bad as they were this year, the Chiefs are never playing with house money because the Chiefs are always expected to be the Chiefs.
Yeah, except I don't think that's true. But the Chiefs have been a dynasty more recently than Alabama has been a dynasty, slightly.
But Alabama is the quintessential program of college football.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree a little. I
understand what you're saying, but I disagree. If Alabama loses, there will be multiple calls into Paul Feinbaum's show calling for DeBoer to be fired. They're just will.
That's obviously true. Although I will say, for Alabama fans wanting to fire Kalen DeBoer and pay that entire buyout, you'd have to be kind of crazy because DeBoer.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm just saying that I don't think that they're ever playing with house money. I don't think that Alabama is ever playing.
Maybe though that the players are playing, because I understand it's a premier program.
No, because I think if you go to Alabama, your expectation is to win, and that you will win always.
All right, let's just put it this way. I think if there's ever a time where Alabama is playing with house money, it would be this game. If there ever is a time.
And I think Indiana's going to win, and I agree with you on the Alabama pick. And I just don't think that it's because the pressure is off. I actually think you could say there's more pressure on. I agree though that there is more pressure on Indiana. I just think that Alabama always has pressure on them, but Indiana has a lot of pressure because you've got the Heisman winner now.
Yeah, that's fair.
It would be a massive disappointment if Indiana went out in the first round. Just as it was a massive disappointment that Oregon went out in the first round.
Right. No, it would be just like that. It would be a huge. I agree. It would be a huge disappointment if that were to happen. But also the weird thing about Alabama is that in a weird way, and this helps them and hurts them, but I think it helps them more as underdogs than it helps them as favorites, is that they're very good playing from behind. Because they can't, in a weird way, they're better playing from behind than they are playing from ahead because they don't run the ball effectively. They're very reliant on their pass game. And I think that as long as their pass game is on point and fairly decent for Alabama, I think they cover this number. If Ty Simpson has a good game, now there's no guarantee that he will. But the other reason is that Indiana tends to not get into that many shootouts. And if this game is more defensive, it's kind of hard. If a game is lower scoring, it's going to be harder to cover a bigger spread. So I could see Indiana. I think this game might not be very high scoring. And I think Indiana wins, but I don't think they cover the 7 points.
Yeah. All right. My 5-unit play. I've been rolling with this team all season. I have not relinquished off them despite a couple of bad results. I have stayed on them. Let's give credit to their defense because their defense, I feel like, is not getting credit for how amazing they have been this season. I am going with the Miami Hurricanes plus 9.5 against Ohio State. Their defense is extremely underrated. They have given up 27 points. They've given up 34 points in their last 4 games combined. They were terrific against Texas A&M. They were terrific against Pitt, which was a game that both of those games were essential playoff games. One of them was a playoff game. The other one they had to win to stay in the playoff. They gave up 7 and 3 points in both of those ones, respectively. Ohio State is a very good team. They are the best team in the country, but they have faced little to no adversity. And when they did, they lost. I do not know. I'll get more into this game a little later, but I think that Miami is going to be competitive with Ohio State. And frankly, I think that most of the country does not think that. And I think that that is why this number is where it's at.
Yeah, I really considered taking. I really strongly when I laid out all my potential picks for this week, I strongly considered Miami first half in this game. And the only reason I said that is because Ohio State, you never know. Like, I was a little worried about backdoor covers and Ohio State really breaking away at the end of the game. But I agree with most of what you just said, that Miami will keep it competitive. Miami has a really, really underrated defense. And you're right. Ohio State has not really faced much adversity this year. I mean, they had a fairly easy schedule for a Big Ten team. All right. My 5-unit play, I am taking Ole Miss, Georgia over 55.5. I don't think that number has changed. It may have fluctuated a little. Wait, let me just double check. I don't think it changed. But overall, I think this game is going to be, like I said before, I think this game is going to be a shootout, and it's 55.5. And I think that's also the reason I think that Georgia is going to struggle, because I think Georgia will struggle a little more when a game like this becomes a shootout. Ole Miss can put up a lot of points, as we've seen throughout the season. And when Georgia plays these top tier teams, they always usually become shootouts.
Right.
Most of the time in competitive games against these top tier teams, like throughout the season, that's been happening. So I really love the over here. Love the over.
All right. Let's go into the league where they play for pay. Last week of the season, this is really the toughest week in the whole season of any sport, in my opinion, to bet.
I agree.
This is a horrible week to make picks in, but we are doing it. It's just so much in the air. And this is we actually had a chance with the Panthers. If the Panthers had won, if the Steelers had won, and if the Panthers had won, if the Steelers had won, and if the Bears were able to complete that comeback, we would have had a week where almost literally nothing mattered.
Yeah.
We have a few more this week. But let's get into it. I am taking the I am taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -2.5 to win the division against the Carolina Panthers. They are playing at 8-8, 7-9 Saturday afternoon. It's been a rough go of things for the Buccaneers. It really has. They have lost, I believe, have they lost 7 in a row? And they have lost consistently now to very bad teams.
Yeah, like they're losing in the easiest part of their schedule.
Yeah, so they beat the Cardinals to get to 7. They were 7-2. They went to 7-5, and then they have won one game since that. They have lost now consecutively to the Saints, Falcons, Panthers, and Dolphins. But I do still think they're a better team than the Panthers. I think that the fact that the Panthers beat them the other week is, good fuel for them. And somehow, some way, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers somehow always find a way to sneak into the playoffs in this last X amount of years. And I think they do it again.
Yeah. I like that pick a lot. All right. My 1-unit play, I am taking the Colts plus 10.5 against the Texans. It's a division rivalry game. And also a lot of times the Texans games, they end up being kind of low scoring. Look, I've changed my mind on the Texans a little bit. I think the Texans are a real deal. I've been saying for months that I think the Texans are overrated. I think their offense is a little bit of a problem, but they're a good team, mostly because of their defense. Their defense has come into form, and their offense has been decent enough. But I think, all right, 10 points now. That's fine. 10 points. I'll still take them. The thing with the Texans is that they tend to win games in a low-scoring fashion like they did against the Raiders, and I think 10 points might just be too much. So I like the Colts to plus 10.
All right. I am taking the Eagles laying 7.5. This game is still semi something to play for the Eagles in terms of seeding. And frankly, I don't think it matters if Jalen Hurts plays, if Tanner McKee plays. I actually think McKee might be a better option. But I don't care about how bad the Eagles' offense has looked. I just do not think the Commanders can stop a nosebleed. Going into Philadelphia at 4:30 on Sunday, where the Commanders have been out of it for a very long time. They have no quarterback. They have a very shoddy defense. And the Eagles still have a little bit to play for, and they want to ride high going into the end of the season. I just see the Eagles here coming out and just putting on a bit of a show, going out and winning the game decently, taking that momentum into the next week.
All right. Yeah, I like that pick. Wait, just a quick question, because is Justin Herbert inactive for the Chargers?
He's not inactive. Well, he's inactive. Like, he's a healthy scratch. He's not playing.
He's not playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why the number's 12.5.
Yeah, because yesterday the number was 7.5, and I Googled it and it looked like he was playing. Now I see 12.5. I'm like, it's obviously.
Ball said he's not playing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then I was like, it's obviously because he's not playing. Okay. Then I have to call a little bit of an audible here. Okay. So for my 2-unit play, I am taking the Lions plus 2.5 against the Browns. The Bears. I think it would be the most Lions thing to just win this game after they're already out of it, when all they had to do was beat the Vikings. I think the Lions this year are like what the Mets were last year. They're the football version of the Mets. Like, they were lucky enough that that Jordan Love gets hurt, and all they have to do is beat the Vikings. We're having a terrible season, and they end up losing. Like, there's so many parallels this year between the Vikings and the Lions and the Mets. I really, even though I've been pretty high on the Bears lately, I think the Bears might not be prepared for this game. I think I like the Lions here, plus 2.5. I just have a weird feeling about this game.
All right. Well, initially I was going to actually take the opposite of that, but I made a last minute switch. I'm going to take the Bears Lions over 50.5. The Bears just play constant late game shootouts. Their defense is not good. The Lions defense is really not good. And I just see a shootout here. It means something to the Bears just as it means something to the Eagles in the other game in terms of the seeding. And I think, I just think the Bears are not a team that looks like they're going to take their foot off the gas, but they are not a team that can blow anybody out either because of their defense. So give me the over 50.5. Yeah,
I like that pick. The Bears are one of the more entertaining teams to watch because
certainly they've literally I don't think played a game that wasn't close.
Yeah, no, like even like early in the season, the easiest part of their schedule, all the games were close.
Yeah, they played down to the last second against the Raiders, the Commanders, the Giants, the Packers twice. Yeah.
What are we at? 3-unit?
Yes.
Okay. My 3-unit play, I am doing one of your picks too. I'm taking the Bucks -3 against the Panthers. The Bucks have had a really rough stretch. Obviously, we all like. I think right now, from the way they're playing, they're a below average team. I think this pick has a little more to do with the Panthers than it does with the Bucks. The Panthers are not a good road team at all, other than that win against the Packers, which had more to do with Jordan Love just playing terribly than it did with the Panthers. The Panthers, look, like you said before, the Panthers already beat the Bucks. Now they're going back to Tampa. I don't really see the Panthers winning twice against the Bucks this year. Right now, I think the Bucks are better. I think they clearly have the better quarterback. Overall, I think the Bucks, like if they get their heads on straight this game, which I think they will because their backs are against the wall, I think they win this game.
Yeah. So just to add to that game, something kind of interesting here. As we're filming this live, right? So as we're live right now, I don't think they're going to win, but the first quarter just ended and the Falcons are up 7-0. So if the Falcons were to somehow win this game and the Buccaneers beat the Panthers, the Falcons and Saints becomes a playoff game in which neither of the two teams involved are in the playoffs. So if the Falcons win this game, the Buccaneers win, but then the Falcons beat the Saints, the Panthers will win the division based on the tie breaks. And if the Falcons win this game, the Buccaneers win, and the Saints beat the Falcons, then the Buccaneers will win the division based on the tie break. So if the Falcons were to hold on here, even though I'm betting live betting the Rams as we speak, Falcons Saints would become one of the oddest games, unless the Panthers do beat the Bucks, which we're both pick against. All right.
Well, wait. Want to hear something nuts? So in one of the pools I'm in, and you know how in the pools you can't see what other people are picking.
Okay.
I am in second place for this week. The guy in first place is 1 point ahead of me, and I thought he probably because I took the Rams.
So you
I thought he probably took the Rams. So I said, you know what? Because I can't lose.
You're gonna take the Falcons.
I took the Falcons so I could potentially win. Sure enough, I see his pick now. Turns out he took the Falcons.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm not kidding.
Holy shit.
I feel like the biggest idiot.
No, I don't think so because the play made sense. But yeah,
I thought, he's making a lot of good picks. He's probably smart, so he probably took the Rams. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Holy shit, that's funny. That is funny. So you lost basically.
Yeah, but like I'm in second place. That's where I was to begin with. I'm not really losing anything.
All right. My two. I'm on a different thing here. My 4-unit play, we're going to the Sunday night game between the Ravens and the Steelers. And my play is Steelers team total over 18.5. I don't care about how bad the Steelers looked on Sunday. I am still taking the Ravens to beat them. I would take the Ravens -3, but I do not think that the Ravens defense could hold anybody to under 18.5 points. Their defense is terrible. The Steelers offense, which has not been very good all season, put up 27 against the Ravens just a couple of weeks ago. They put up 29 against the bad Lions defense. They put up 28 against the bad Dolphins defense. And I think that the Ravens are worse than a couple of those defenses. The Browns have an underrated, terrific defense, possibly one of the best defenses in all of the NFL, which is why they only scored 6 on Sunday. I just do not see any way in which that Raven defense can keep a team that low. Again, I think the Ravens are going to win the game, but I do not think they can keep the Steelers that low.
Yeah, I kind of like that pick. I actually – is that me?
It is you.
Oh, okay. My 4-unit play actually happens to be the same game. I am taking, but it's a simpler pick, a less degenerate pick. I'm taking the Steelers plus 3.5. I did say that I think the Ravens will win, and I think they will, but I don't think the Ravens are, because here's the thing. The Steelers always seem to collapse late, like after Thanksgiving. It always seems to happen. It happened last year. It happens all the time, and ownership is just cool with it, like it seems like. But I'm a little worried about the 3.5, largely because the Ravens are terrible against the spread. They're tied for the second worst team against the spread. And the Ravens, they haven't really – I don't really think either one of these teams has looked great. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a little bit of a slugfest in this game, and I don't think the Ravens cover. I can see them winning like 20-17, something like that. By like three.
The number doesn't make a lot of sense to me, to be honest.
The number?
Yeah.
What did you think they'd be favored by more points?
I thought the Steelers would be favored.
Yeah.
Steelers beat them in the games in Pittsburgh. I mean,
exactly. So
it also might be a detriment, frankly, to the Ravens if Jackson starts.
Yeah.
I mean, Huntley's look better.
Yeah.
So, that number was a little jarring to me. I think if I was laying it out, if I did a whose line is it anyway before the week, I probably would have said Steelers -2.5.
That's not unfair. That's
similar to that. I think it was similar to that Buccaneers one, but yeah, that one was jarring to me. But Vegas knows a lot more than we do. So
yeah.
I mean, the shocking thing. Also, I want to say too, there were some people saying, especially on, there was a show on this network I saw saying it, that the NFL sort of put their, I don't know what the right word was, but sort of put their thumb on the scale or whatever when they suspended DK Metcalf 2 games. When there's 2 games, it was said on Press Row. All the Steelers had to do was beat the 3-12 Cleveland Browns. So I don't think the NFL suspending Metcalf.
By the way, scale, what player wouldn't get suspended for that? You can't put your hands on.
Agreed. I also don't like. I also don't think that I also am not like the biggest opponent of like these morons that yell stuff from the stands who think they can just say anything. Also, you can't punch a guy, but some of these fans do take a lot of liberties. But if the Steelers beat the 3-12 Cleveland Browns, that suspension doesn't mean as much.
Yeah, that's all.
And I think that I don't think that the NFL thought in their wildest dreams when they were suspending people that the Steelers were not going to beat the Browns.
Yeah, that's also a fair point.
All right, let's get into the 5-unit play. I am taking the Ravens -3.5 for. Well, we're sort of opposite on everything.
You said the Ravens -3.5.
Yeah, What?
I'm confused because you were just saying you thought the Steelers would be favored.
I said multiple times. That doesn't mean that I think that they were going to cover. I said the number doesn't make any sense.
Oh, okay.
Because the Steelers already beat the Ravens, and the Ravens have no quarterback. I said the number doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that I would have taken the Ravens.
Okay, that's a fair point.
I was just confused on the number. But either way, we are on opposite sides both because you also think that it's going to be a slugfest. I think it's going to be a lot of scoring. I'm taking the Ravens. I just think the Ravens are better. I think Derrick Henry's on fire. He tends to be a streaky player, and he had a great game on Sunday, which means I think he'll have another good game here. Although it would be the most Steeler thing to make the playoffs and get killed, it would be also the most Steeler thing to go 9-8. And I just think the Ravens are going to come out here and win this game. I think the fact the Steelers beat them factors in, just as I think the fact that the Panthers beat the Bucs factors in. And I think the Ravens have been playing better ball. I think the Ravens are the better team, and certainly are the better team offensively, no matter who the quarterback is. So I think that they'll be able to put up enough points. I have the team total Steelers over, so I'm seeing maybe a 27-20 here. And I got the Ravens -3.5.
All right. So my 5-unit play, I am taking the Bears Lions over 50.5, like you already took. Like you said, the Bears always get into shootouts late in games. The Lions defense the Lions defense stinks. I really just this game just screams over to me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, let's get into the money line plays of the week. I talked about this game earlier. I don't know if they're necessarily going to win, but I think the value is terrific. I am taking Miami Hurricanes +285. I think that, again, everyone and their mother thinks Ohio State's going to win this game in a blowout. I think that Miami's defense is so underrated. I don't think that many people are paying attention to what Miami's defense has done. Okay, they're playing in the ACC, but They weren't playing in the ACC last week. And I just think that Ohio State has not been fully challenged until the Big Ten championship game, and they lost, and their offense didn't look good. I think getting 285 on Miami here is great value. I think Miami has a serious chance to win this game and possibly the national championship game. I am taking Miami plus 285.
All right. My money line winner, I am taking the Cleveland Browns. Oh, wait a second. I forgot to put the plus in there over the come on, DraftKings, what the hell? I'm taking the Browns over the Bengals.
Yeah.
Here it is. All right. Browns over the Bengals plus 300.
Okay.
Because look, this is going to be, I think this is going to be a tough game. I think the Bengals don't have much to play for right now. I kind of think they're dead in the water. Sometimes these teams that are just used to losing, they just try to win a bunch of games late in the season.
Yeah.
Especially against division rivals. I think the Browns win this game outright.
What do you think of if Myles Garrett breaks the record and TJ Watt already broke it? What do you think of those sack records? Because a lot of people are sort of putting an asterisk next to both of those.
Why?
Because they did it in the 17th game versus Strahan and Marquez only played 16 games.
I don't know if that's, you know what? I don't think it's fair to put an asterisk next to it because that could be said about, I mean, that would be a little bit like talking. I mean, you could say the same thing about like scoring records in the NBA and things like that.
You could say the same thing about the New England Patriots had won more games than the undefeated Dolphins.
Right. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't put an asterisk next to it. I think the context matters, but I don't think that's fair.
Right. All right. All right. Let's get into locks of the week. This is my pick right now, and I'm going to make a couple of bold predictions because this could be dead by the next time we talk. This is my pick to win the national championship in college football this year. I'm going with Texas Tech Red Raiders laying -2.5, -2.5, as some people would say, on against the Oregon Ducks. I am picking the Texas Tech Red Raiders to win the national championship. I think they are an extremely complete team. Their only loss this year was to the ex-Big 12 champions, the reigning Big 12 champions, a former playoff team without their quarterback, with Arizona State's quarterback and top receiver both playing, which they did not have later in the year. So Arizona State was a much better team than they were most of the season. Their only loss of the season. They are very good. I think it is kind of going under the radar how good they are. BYU needed to win a game to get into the playoffs, and they were steamrolled by Texas Tech. Texas Tech are very, 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 very good. And I think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to go on to win the national championship. Texas Tech -2.5 is my lock of the week.
All right. I had a feeling that you had the opposite pick when you reacted to my Oregon pick. Well, I would just say that you're just a Big 12 homer. I'm kidding.
Okay, but is that wrong? They lost one game to
no. Your reasoning is totally logical and totally fair.
And would you agree that it's? I know you picked Oregon, but would you agree that it's flown under the radar how dominant Texas Tech have been this year?
Yes, absolutely.
They won their last they won their last two games of the regular season 48-9 and 49-5.
No, I don't disagree at all. I don't disagree at all. All right. NFL locks of the week.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even get my college lock. All right. My college lock is USC -6.5 against TCU, largely because TCU, Josh Hoover is not even playing in this game. They have TCU. I was looking at the opt-out tracker. TCU seems to have many more opt-outs.
That's a thing?
What?
That's a thing.
You never heard of the opt-out tracker? No, you never heard of that? I'm surprised. Yeah, I love USC here, -6.5.
Yeah, I have not heard of that, but yeah, like I said, I don't get too into those bowls, but yeah, the opt-out tracker, that's amazing. That's
I mean, it's no more absurd than Tankathon.
no, I love Tankathon, by the way. I love Tankathon. But I actually
Of course we
I'm
love
trying to
Tankathon.
find that one. When is that tomorrow? Oh, the Alamo Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, in the Alamo.
Yeah, I like that pick too.
That's the reason. That's the reason Shador Sanders got his number retired.
Yeah. All right, let's go into the locks. I am going with the San Francisco 49ers to win their division, cover. It's a 1-point spread right now, but still one. Yeah, it's 1-point spread. They're getting points actually. That doesn't really matter when it's a 1-point spread. I just think San Francisco is better than Seattle. I think Seattle's really, really good. You can't trust Darnold in a big spot. You just can't. And I'm taking the 49ers here. I think the 49ers are good. I mean, if he wasn't out for a long period of time, Purdy would be the MVP. With his play right now, he's the MVP. 14-0 Falcons, by the way.
Holy shit.
Would you rather them lose or win?
Well, I would rather them win because then I wouldn't. Well, the thing is, then I wouldn't.
Then you wouldn't feel as bad because you would have lost anyway.
Right, because I wouldn't regret my changing pick. All right. I totally agree with what you said there. My lock of the week, I'm surprised you didn't take this game. I'm taking the Bills minus 11.5. I feel like that's a really easy pick. I think they're going to kill the Jets.
Stop.
Wait, what?
Go to DraftKings again. Wait,
is that
not even close to the number that I'm seeing?
Bills minus 7.
Okay, you took them 11.5.
Yeah, yesterday I took them 11.5.
Okay, but I assume that means probably Josh Allen's not going to play.
Josh Allen might not be playing. Honestly, I don't even care. I still think the Jets are going to get killed.
All right. Okay. I'm fine with that. I agree with that. Also, we talked about this off air. I have an extended lock here. I want to get into this for a second. I am up big in the units contest here. Like right now, I'm up about 80 units. I am going full house in without an opponent, without a number. I am putting everything, all of those 80 units, or whatever the unit number is going into the last week, on whoever the New England Patriots play in the first round of the playoffs. The New England Patriots, with the Carolina Panthers loss, have less wins against winning teams than the New York Giants, who are fighting for the number 1 pick. I think the New England Patriots are the most overrated team possibly in the history of the NFL for one season. I think they will go way back to earth when they have to play a first place schedule next year. And I think they are going to get shellacked in the playoffs. I don't know if you're with me on that, but I think the Patriots are so beyond overrated. It is one of the most easiest division winners I've ever seen in my life. Their schedule is beyond easy. I mean, they have one of the easiest schedules I'd ever seen in the history of the NFL. And I think when it comes to it's either, I think, going to be the Bills or the Chargers. I think either of those teams are going to destroy the New England Patriots.
Not a bad pick. I don't really disagree with that. I wouldn't put all my units on it, but I don't disagree. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
You guys.
That's our show this week. We'll be back. I think we'll be back next week.
Yeah, possibly. Yes.
Yeah, we should be. All right. So thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year, everybody.